So, introductions.
Uh, my name's Gene Leknovich. I play the Warforged Zed for B&B Tavern in D&D 5e.
I'm Chris Abrahamson. I play Adder Double D Cop. He's a monk cleric.
I'm Chris French. I play Reddick Frostgaze, the Dwarven Cleric, in this game, Far Reach, The Quest for Power.
My name is Dennis Burke. I play Roderick in this campaign, human variant paladin, and I'm here to kick some evil butt.
Where I started the role-playing games, I remember my two best friends growing up, their older brothers and their older family, they were just like everybody else, just like us, a bunch of nerds, playing their own role-playing, and we weren't always invited to that because they were so much older than us. So what my friends did was he created his own broken patch workload system.
My cousin and my sister and I, we always used to play all kinds of role-playing games back in the day, all on the consoles. We had PlayStation, we'd play stuff like Legend of Dragoon, Baldur's Gate. Oh man, and we'd play all kinds of other games like that, basically anything that would catch our interest. And one day my cousin bought the Dungeons and Dragons books, and he said, hey, it's like those other RPGs, but there are no limits to this one. In New York, my cousin and my sister and I, we would play all kinds of role-playing games, like all on the consoles. We had a PlayStation, we'd play Legend of Dragoon, Baldur's Gate. We'd love Magic the Gathering, and I still do to this day. And all of those things always intrigued us, the story, the character, all that kind of stuff. And one day, my cousin had gotten the books for Dungeons and Dragons, and he comes up to us and says, this is just like the RPGs we usually play, but there's no limitations to this one. We can it's as far as our imagination can stretch. And yeah, since then, I just feel like it's a great way to practice some camaraderie and storytelling.
I started RPGs basically the same way you did. It was with Legend of Dragoon and stuff like stuff like Final Fantasy always intrigued me. And one day I started playing the Fallouts and single-player RPGs instead of JRPGs that were party-based and stuff. And I was like, this is really cool, but it would be way cooler being multiplayer. And then I've started watching Acquisitions Inc. and Critical Role, and it just inspired me, hey, I should probably see if there's anywhere around here that does Dungeons and Dragons. It seems like such a different experience. You're actually playing with people. You don't have the limitation. I found a local gaming store, Plus One, and I started playing there, and I've been playing there every Monday and Wednesday since.
I started playing role-playing games about 2 years ago. I hopped on the bandwagon of everybody's like, oh, let's play Skyrim. Have you played Skyrim? And I'm like, no. I think 2 years ago, Chris's brother, Ryan, he introduced me to Dungeons and Dragons, and he was like, I think you'd like it, man. I didn't really get out much, so I was like, I don't know if I would like it. I thought to myself, isn't that like a nerdy game, like what all those other people play? He brought me to Plus One Gaming, and I rolled up a character, and after my first game, it was I fell in love with it. Pokemon Go it's revolutionary. Everyone being able to play the same thing and everyone, talking about it. It created a community where people can get together and, just be themselves.
The thought of D&D as a YouTube channel and such, and that means countless options and countless ideas for series and shows, and that makes it almost infinite, and I can share that world with people, and I think that's a really great idea, whether it's audience or artists or actors or illustrators or anything. I think that's what the goal of the channel is.
I'm originally from Michigan, and I moved down here to New Orleans because I'm in the U.S. Coast Guard. Dungeons and Dragons is a game of fantasy. It's a game of adventure. It's a game that makes you feel, lets you escape for that moment in time, so you can forget about the worries in the world that's around you. It's it's an exciting adventure that all you need is a piece of paper, a dice, and a couple of people to play with. I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons or role playing since I was in college about 20 years ago. One of the games that I played was a game called Champions. That was a game of superheroes, and that got me into it. It was a game that made me think, what can't I do in a game, and then try to figure out a way of how can I make that work in the game that I want to build, or how do I want to build it so I can incorporate that aspect of the game into it. Once I got into version 5, this is so much easier. The rules are very clear, they're very clean. You can kind of adjust them how you feel, and you're really not breaking the game. And that's what brought me into like what I'm doing right now, is being the dungeon master, and I enjoy that the most. And I also run the same exact session for my nieces and my nephew up in Michigan, and it is this similar style, a little less violent, a little less graphic. I like doing homebrew more than I do pre-made campaigns. Those are great, but I like to do more I guess you could say improv type stuff. And with the campaign, it's kind of structured, kind of linear, kind of puts you down a direct path. And with homebrew, you can go in any direction you want. Dungeons and Dragons pretty much fills up all my time. There's the Hoard of the Dragon Queen. There's the Curse of Strahd. That one is more a free open world, but the Rise of Tiamat, those are in the campaign. When you read them, you're watching the players move you're pushing them in a direction. And when you're pushing them in that direction, there's a fine line between forcing them down and them realizing what you're doing, and you telling them a story of how this epic adventure is going about. And with a homebrew, it doesn't matter which direction, because when you find them asking a question about a specific place, and you can say, oh yeah, I've already kind of built that area, you don't have to have it readily available right then and there. You can build it as they're walking through the world. And that is an amazing, it's an exciting thing for me, because it gets my active juices flowing, but it also inspires the group that is playing, so then they can kind of feel as if they're exploring the world with you. And that's why I like homebrew, is because there can be some added flavor and some added joy to not just the dungeon master, but to the players themselves. And I love watching the players themselves see and feel the world as you've wanted to see and feel that world. And that's kind of exciting to me. The Acquisitions Incorporated, as well as the Vox Machina, those two groups have kind of helped build and maintain the adult level of gaming in a professional standpoint, because these people are professional actors, and some of them are directors, and some of them, they know how to use their voice. They know how to build suspense and tell a really good story, a narrative that can hold you in. I mean, look at what happened with the show Stranger Things. If it wasn't for if it wasn't for Matt Mercer and that group, and then Acquisitions Incorporated and that group, you wouldn't have Stranger Things putting Dungeons and Dragons in their story. I could be wrong, but it feels as if that show was built on some of that fire, some of that excitement that people have been wanting for a while, that wasn't out there for such a long time. It's kind of been simmering and smoldering, but the past 2 years, it's exploded, and it's amazing to watch this happen. And me wanting to feel that same thing by trying to tell a narrative is in a similar way of like trying to recreate my own Vox Machina or my own Acquisitions Incorporated or my own, Stranger Things. And that's really fun to me, and seeing if I can kind of get my group to feel that feeling that I have. These guys keep me grounded. They show my faults like every second, and I realize that I am not there yet. I know that I can tell a good story every once in a while. I can describe things in a decent manner, but I know that these people keep me in check, keeping me. Reality is, I need this group of people to show me that not only am I doing a good job, but I'm also staying on the earth and not being up in the clouds going, oh, well, hey, look at me, I'm this. That's not what this is about. The story has to be always reminded that the Dungeon Master is not the focus. It is the group of people that you're trying to get involved in that story. And if you can't get those people involved in the story, you're not able to, either A, that group isn't right, or B, you're not ready for being a dungeon master yet. And that's important to also understand. But again, if you don't make mistakes, if you don't make those mistakes, then you'll never learn how to resolve issues that you've had before. And that's really important. And again, it's this group of people that helped me do that. To find yourself in a scenario that can get you an experience that can get you out of, say, a bad situation, either being a dungeon master or being a player itself, it's hard to find one specific thing. But one of the times was, again, playing Champions 20 years ago. My character was Ned Nealander, like a psionic type of creature that was German. Finding myself that I had to sacrifice, little Nettie had to sacrifice himself for the entire group, and I knew that was the only way we'd be able to get out of that situation. So I provoked because we would have been all crushed by this like 400-foot tall creature. I had to do the one thing that I thought was the right way to do it, when after the fact the GM said, well, all you had to do was this. And then I'm like, oh, not realizing that there are multiple avenues outside of this scenario. Little Nettie is still unconscious to this day. 20 years later, I know, because my friend keeps teasing me about it. He's like, oh yeah, little Nettie is still unconscious from being smacked across the earth. But yeah, those things where you learn, either being a player or being a dungeon master, kind of like figuring out what avenues do you have in order to get yourself out of a tricky situation, whether it being a player that does something wrong or the dungeon master puts you up against a immovable force or immovable object. It takes practice, and you'll still never get it right every single time. It's different every single situation, and it sucks, but it's also exciting. I'm in the Coast Guard, and I am a communications person. I basically do the radio, the search and rescue, the marine casualty side. When people call up on the radio, I am the person that tries to calm them down. Again, my voice is a little has a frog in it because of I don't know, but normally I'm able to just talk to this person, calm them down if they have if they're in a situation they need help, or they're out on the water. But Dungeons and Dragons gets me away from that, because there are certain times when it's really nasty out there, and I'm hearing some really nasty things on the radio that are really, really bad, and I just need to escape. And so going into this world, building this world, is kind of my cathartic resolve. It helps me pull out of that, and it actually, even though it's kind of doom and gloom, it actually keeps me in a good mood, because I find myself building something that keeps my interest, and then hopefully it keeps the player's interest as well, and that's really important.